So what I've done is to tell you about the major breakthroughs in solar energy over the last 6,000 years. The first breakthrough was learning where the sun is. And what's amazing is now 6,000 years later, I've talked to so many people, and nobody knows that in the northern hemisphere, the sun is low in the sky and always in the south in the wintertime, and high in the sky in the summertime, rises in the northeast and sets in the northwest. Then the next breakthrough was building, knowing these two principles. And 6,000 years ago, as we see on the top slide, Neolithic Chinese opened up their buildings to the south and put a hat on their house to keep the high summer sun off. Then in the slide next to it, the color slide, 2,000 years later, they developed a little more sophistication and had a south-facing court, recessed the house, and had it longer than it is deep, so all the sun rays in the wintertime could come in with a hat to keep the summer sun off. And finally, which has persisted over 6,000 years, is the Chinese courtyard house, which does the same thing. So those are two major breakthroughs. Third major breakthrough, discovering that glass traps solar heat. Glass is transparent to sun rays, but is opaque to the resulting sun heat. That's why your car gets hot during the when it's sitting outside, parked outside. And what the Romans did, they were the ones who invented it. They heated their baths, because Romans, like Californians like myself, would revolt if we didn't have our hot tubs. And the same thing with Rome. If Rome didn't have hot baths, there would have been civil disobedience and discord. 1,500 years later, a person asked, how much heat can a glass cover trap from the sun? And he discovered that it could get in an insulated box covered with glass, heat up to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. And actually, this was done, the top slide, this was done to model global warming in 1767. So if you say, like, global warming is something new, something a fad, well, it all began with discovering the greenhouse effect, which we call today global warming. And to counter the greenhouse effect, we use glass to trap solar heat. And the bottom slide is the oldest working solar water heater in the world. And if anybody says solar doesn't work, I will tell them I climbed up a ladder to a solar water heater in Florida that was put up in 1923 and is still heating water today for 9 units. The next major breakthrough was concentrating solar by optical curvatures of materials, developed by the Chinese 3,000 years ago, to light their lunch fires, because they didn't have matches and they didn't have lighters. That went another 1,000 years and started to run steam engines in the 19th century. And here we have it, the last slide, where you have the big parabolic mirrors, which is a rift of what the Chinese invented 3,000 years ago, which now produce electricity. And last, but most important of all the breakthroughs, is photovoltaics. The top slide in color shows the first solar module built in 1873, where they discovered the photovoltaic effect, that is, light that shines on certain materials can directly produce electricity. However, it was very inefficient, But here we see the first rooftop array on the top slide in New York in 1884. That's your first grid tie. And then on the bottom slide, we see the three inventors of the solar cell that changed the world. The silicon solar cell that is now the sire to today's solar revolution, which is going to eliminate carbon utilities. And they're afraid, as we see from this rooftop here in Germany, who were the pioneers in bringing this technology to the masses. And this year is the 60th anniversary of the discovery of the silicon solar cell. And next year is the 140th anniversary of the discovery that a material can convert sunlight directly without any moving parts into electricity to make us live in comfort without emitting any carbon materials into the sky. So thank you for coming. And this was just a prelude to my book, which you can get at the bookstore outside. It's called Let It Shine, the 6,000-year story of solar energy. Have a wonderful meal.